Hey friends, this is Sketch Dirt and I'm Marla, and today we are drawing 3D letters X, Y, and Z, and this is going to be the last lesson in this lettering series, and I'm really excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. The paper I'm working on is 11 by 14. I'm using a 2B pencil, and the squares measure at 3 by 3 inches for the first one and 2.5 by 3 inches for the other 3 squares. And I'm starting off here by just penciling in single lines of the letters to get a sense of how much space they'll take up and where they will land on the page. And you're going to see here with the ampersand that I'm just sort of penciling in pieces of it. I'm not penciling in the entire thing because I really want to get a sense. This shape isn't necessarily like letters in the alphabet, it's the and sign, and that's why I wanted to include it in this series. So you're just kind of getting a sense of where that is within the square. And now I'm going to start penciling in the first three-dimensional part of it. I'm starting with the X, and I'm starting with the middle area of the X because this will give you a sense for how thick to make those lines, and you'll use this as a guide to draw the rest of the shape. And basically when I go through these letters, I'm sort of just sketching it in, because what we're going to do next is after we get a good idea of what we want and how we want it to look, then I'm going to go through and erase everything and put in the clean lines. So basically when you're doing this yourself, don't be worried about it being really messy, because we're going to clean it up and it's going to look really nice at the end. And also when you're doing this, I'm giving you a guide for how to draw these, but for whatever your project is and for whatever you have in mind, you can make these letters as thick or as thin as you want. This is just sort of a basic idea of how to draw these, and you can add your own individual expression to what you're drawing and to what your project is. And I definitely wanted to add the ampersand because when you're making words and you're spelling things out, I think punctuation like question mark and exclamation point, I think there are other letters in the alphabet that you can kind of use as a guide, but this ampersand can be pretty difficult. I don't think there are a lot of lessons that include this, and so I wanted to make sure it was included here. And as you can see, I'm drawing it a little differently than the other letters. I'm sort of taking the lines and extending them down so I can get a sense of how thick those lines are supposed to be, and overall making sure that it's uniform so it doesn't start to look distorted. It's pretty difficult to keep this shape from looking distorted to begin with, because there's actually a couple different ways you can draw this to make it look the way you want, and it's still correct. And now I'm going through and I am drawing the Z and applying the same principles to this letter. So as I'm drawing here, I'm also kind of eyeballing the shapes to see what lines I want to keep and which lines aren't important to me. So that way when I erase, I kind of know what to erase, and if I end up erasing those lines, or I need to erase them just because there's so many other lines on top of them, then I know how to fill that space back in, which is what you'll see here. You'll see that I erase so much of these letters, but I've left enough that when I go back, I know what I want to pencil in and I know what I want those final lines to look like. All right. So now here we're penciling it in. These are the final shapes. And I'm just going through defining those edges, darkening up areas, and just overall cleaning it up. And again, this is another opportunity for you to just add those elements that are particular to your project. And you can apply these same principles to markers, colored pencils, paints. It doesn't have to just be like pencil like what I'm doing here. And I'm getting this ampersand all drawn in, and what you'll see is like all the line weights look uniform after I penciled all those lines in and then erased them. And right now what I'm going to do is just show you a little trick for drawing the three-dimensional part. I've done this in every lesson, tried to do something a little different for each. And this trick is for when you're drawing the words and you want to overlap the letters in order to make the words, or maybe you want to overlap like this ampersand. So it's like two words with an and sign in the middle, and you want that and sign to overlap. And so I'm just tracing them out here, the first shape, and I'm getting it positioned where I want it to be on the page. And then I'm offsetting it about 1/4 of an inch. You can make your letters as thick as you want, but for this series, I've made it about 1/4 of an inch. And this is a little tougher. You'll want to really focus on this because, as you can see here, I'm even like I got a little mixed up as to where it needed to be positioned, and then I looked at it again and replaced it, and then got it back on track. And there you go. And now we're going to go back, and what I'm going to do is I've been drawing these three-dimensional portions by hand without the tissue paper, because I think that adds kind of a unique human element that I think is really important, where it doesn't look so perfect and so computer rendered. I think that's a reason why you would want to do these letters like this in the first place. Otherwise, you could just go to the computer and very easily kind of draw these in that way, in a more perfect way. And with doing it like this, you can basically draw this out, draw it by hand, and then take a picture of it on your iPhone or scan it with a scanner, and then bring it into the computer program that you're working on and work with it from there, whether it's like Illustrator or Photoshop, or just as the pencil drawing that it is. All right, and now I'm going to begin putting in that shading. And whereas before we had like those sketchy lines and we went back and erased them, what you're going to do now is those sketchy lines, you're going to cover them up with shading, and this is what's going to give it that dimension and that extra shape and pop. And this works for paints, it works for, again, color pencils, any medium that you're working in, you would apply these principles and get it all shaded in and define the areas. And that's it. This series has been really fun. I'm definitely going to be doing more like this in the future. So if there's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and definitely please subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sketch Dirt, and I'm Marla.